Hello, welcome to the channel. So I thought I'd just go through the project that I was working on at the end of 2024. Didn't post very much towards the end of 2024, but I was working on quite a few different things. But one thing that I was trying to get completed, and a project that I've been thinking about for quite a while, was creating a Romano-British force for whatever rule system I was going to be playing and using them for, and I never really found anything that I would use them with, but I've been considering it for quite a while. One thing that kind of inspired me to do the Romano-British was reading Mark Morris's excellent book on the Anglo-Saxons, the beginnings of history in England, and this was an excellent kind of piece of inspiration, really. Not just to think about the Anglo-Saxons, but also to think about the Romano-British, because in order to write about the Anglo-Saxons, he needs to talk about the people who were here before the Anglo-Saxons, and who were the kind of remnants of the Roman invasion and the Roman occupation of Britain that came before the Anglo-Saxons took over and the Romans left. And of course they left behind people who were indigenous, well, not indigenous perhaps, but were actually there before the Romans arrived, and they were the Celts. So the Celts, as Mark talks about, were basically absorbed into a Roman way of life. They adopted Roman culture, Roman practices, Roman arms, Roman weapons, all of those kinds of things, but they still maintain a kind of Celtic and a Celtic Christian beliefs as well by the time we get to the 6th and the 7th centuries, and that becomes very strong. Of course, they start then to retreat into the west and the southwest of Britain, and they become the Romano-British. They're basically, they're the fusion of the Celtic peoples and the Romans and whatever other people settled there as well, and this idea of the Briton and the Brittonic culture, Brittonic people, is kind of what's left now in Wales and in Cornwall in particular. So I'm kind of fascinated by that idea that these are essentially the British before the Anglo-Saxons arrive and decide to push them out into the western reaches of the British Isles. And one thing that Mark says is, he says that those who still wish to cling to the vestiges of the Roman past, and in particular Christianity, would have had to head west. So Christianity was already established, this kind of Celtic Christianity that came before Rome, that he also talks about later. Here in what is now Wales and Cornwall were the hills and forests that Gildas, and Gildas is a writer of the time, said had offered the Britons refuge. Gildas himself is the best evidence that in these western regions there was still a literate Christian culture, and that these at the very top of society were still striving to lead a Roman lifestyle. At Tintagel, to the far southwest, archaeologists have discovered the remains of an amphora that once contained wine or olive oil, and fragments of high quality tableware imported from the eastern Mediterranean. And similar other sites have been found in Wales. So this kind of this proto-Roman, late Roman, Romano-British culture still exists in Britain despite the Romans having left. I suppose most famously we remember battles like the Battle of Baden Hill, which may or may not have taken place, but there was still a flourishing, there were enough Romano-British left and enough able to defend themselves by the time we get to the 7th century, because as we go on through Mark's book, he talks about a king called Cadwallon, and he says that Cadwallon was basically the king of Gwynedd. Now I did a little bit of research on Cadwallon, and he was the king of Gwynedd. He fought in several battles against the Saxons as he pushed into Northumbria, and he managed to kill a king called Eadwine. And it says here that in the event that the king's nemesis was Cadwallon, ruler of the British kingdom of Gwynedd, like Ethelthryth before him. Eadwine had evidently made war against the Celtic peoples to the west, forbidding forms of the extended his rule to the Isle of Man and Anglesey. So what happens is Cadwallon, king of Gwynedd, basically fights back, and in the early 7th century, so 633, he invades Northumbria. So there's plenty of scope here, and he managed to persuade, or rather forced, Penda of Mercia to fight alongside him against Eadwine, and eventually killing Eadwine at the, I think it was in the Battle of Havenfield. Okay, so which apparently is near modern Doncaster. So we've got this culture that still exists up until at least the 7th century, and is powerful enough to take on the Saxons. So this was something I was worried about when I was creating this. I thought, who are these people? You know, are they able to fight Vikings and Saxons, and early Vikings perhaps? Yeah, so we can bring those in as well. So you got the early Saxons, you got the Vikings, and you got the Romano-British. So there's enough scope for me to actually put an army together. Another thing that persuaded me to actually have a go at this from a wargaming point of view was, of course, the emergence of Midgard, heroic battles. So when this came out, I thought, well, this is a perfect opportunity now. I've sort of got a perfect storm. You know, the inspiration from Mark Morris's book, an actual game that requires that I have these figures in the first place, so I'm not just sitting there, not just sitting around as most of them do. So I started a bit of a journey there. So here we go. So what have we got? So in Midgard heroic battles, you have units, you have divisions, I can't remember what the contingents they call them, yeah, and you have leaders. So I've done a leader unit. Okay, so this guy, Romano-British leader, hero for Midgard. So I really like him. So he would probably be a level 3 leader. Okay, I love the kind of Sutton Hoo style helmet in the background. Don't think I can get closer without it going out of focus, but yeah. Okay, so he would definitely be a kind of high standing, high level leader for Midgard. But obviously I could use him in other games as well, like Hail Caesar. Okay, so that's kind of a command stand there. I did a slightly lower level leader as well. So Midgard, oh, his sword's bent. So in this is why they lost against the Saxons, you see. They had bent swords. So he would be maybe slightly lower level leader, a little with a trumpeter there in the background. So he would probably be a level 2 leader. I would probably use for Midgard, you know, and basically just another command stand that I could probably use for Hail Caesar as well. Okay, so a couple of command stands there, and then of course we've got the units as well. So Midgard, they basically say, I think it's 120 centimeters. No, it can't be 120, can it? 12 centimeters by 120 millimeters by 50 or 60 millimeters. Okay, but I decided to kind of give them a bit of uniqueness. So these have got like black and white shield effects, and I tried to mix them up. So I put them in groups of 6 rather than groups of 8, because the 8 looked a little bit squashed. And kind of a mixture of shields and spears, and I just something about the armor and the look of the Romano-British. I know they're kind of essentially late Roman. You know, you could also, these are Victrix, and you can do them as late Roman, and you can also do them as Goths as well. But it's just something about the look and the kind of the mixture of the kind of pagan and the Christian as well, very early Christian idea. So I did those in, I kind of grouped them together with their particular leaders. So the kind of red and white of the shields would be the kind of warrior warband retinue of the level 3 leader. Not sure how close I can get this without going out of focus. Okay, again, mixture of shields and spears. And then the other one is the black and white one. So the black and white with the kind of level 2 leader. So Just trying to give them some sort of synchronicity across the command. And then at the back we've got some, I mixed them up in black and white, red and white, and then I also did some more with the a mixture of the more colourful shields as well. I really like this guy at the front here. He's kind of shouting a challenge, isn't he, to the Saxons. Okay, here we go. They're really good. They're really fierce. These are all Victrix, of course. This is one box of Victrix armoured Romano-British, or late Romans, or Goths. You can do them however you wish, but I just want them to be Romano-British. So that's what I've got. So I've got, so out of one box, I got 6 stands. Okay, basically maybe 2 contingents and 2 commanders as well. So that was all out of one box for the Romano-British. So I had a really good time doing those. I really enjoyed them. The shield transfers, shield stickers rather, are from Little Big Man, of course. So if you do any Victrix work at all, you're probably familiar with that. So then I thought, well, I need opponents, don't I, to fight the Romano-British. So I have got a box of early Saxons, but I haven't started them yet. But I've already got quite a few Vikings. So see, these are some of my Vikings. Now you'll notice, I could put this going back. You'll notice my Vikings are on Sabbat bases. Okay, that's how you pronounce it. And so they are not glued down. Okay, they're on individual bases like that. Now the reason why is because I use my Vikings for Baron's War conquest. Okay, so I didn't really want to start sticking my Vikings down. I wanted a bit more flexibility with my Vikings, so I will definitely stick down my Saxons, my early Saxons, but my Vikings are going to stay like this. But the frontage is the same. It's 120 millimeters, same as the others, so I can easily use my Vikings to fight against my Romano-British. And of course, you know, they did get up into Northumbria, of course, Romano-British, and the Vikings actually sailed round. I was trying to think, how can I get Vikings to fight Romano-British, because Vikings did come slightly later, of course. They wouldn't be around in maybe the 5th and 6th centuries, very early raiding, but there was a few raids later on the Irish coast and on Wales, down in South Wales, and on Anglesey as well. So the Vikings did sail around there, and they did raid the Welsh coast. So there's lots of potential for Romano-British versus Vikings. These are slightly later Vikings, I would probably say, probably 8th, 9th century, but still, you know, things didn't change too much, did they, over a couple of 100 years? And as I said already, you know, I've put commanders in with these already, but I have got some spare commanders that I can put in a different command stand. So there's a kind of a Viking berserker. You just chop the head off a Saxon or maybe a Roman at this point. Okay, so they would probably operate as a couple of command stands with the banners. And one I'm quite proud of is my Varangian Guard. Okay, now, you know, these guys might be slightly later. These are more kind of 9th, 10th century, maybe even 11th century, when some of them, the Vikings and the Normans are travelling down into and become basically the Rus, don't they? And then the Rus are kind of, some of the Rus are sent down to Byzantium to become the emperor's personal guard. Of course, they are the Varangians with their massive two-handed axes. So I could use these guys. I probably would, you know, as a heavy infantry unit alongside my Vikings. So as I say, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got about 6 stands of Vikings, so I've got more Vikings than I need. I've also got some Viking bowmen and some slingers as well. So I hope you've enjoyed having a look at these, and I'll give them a bit of a line up and then I can do a bit of a flyover of them and let you have a look. So, you know, they're really, what inspired me for this was I'd already got the Vikings for Barons War Conquest, and I think Andy's just started a new group. Actually, if you go on Facebook, Barons War Conquest has now got its own group, and started it yesterday, I think. And I just love the Romano-British. I just love the look of their armour, and there's just something very classically early medieval about the way they look with their shields, and the shape of their helmets and the full chainmail and everything. Okay, very, you know, Arthur. I'm staying away from saying Arthurian, but maybe I will say Arthurian. I'm not really interested in Arthur and kind of, you know, the legend of Arthur, etc., who was supposed to have fought at Baden Hill. But that is potentially something as well. You know, we could have Arthur versus the Saxons, couldn't we? I don't know if anybody remembers that fantastic TV series from the 70s, Arthur of the Britons. Does anyone remember that? I think it was Oliver Tobias. He was Arthur, and he had a friend who was a Viking. Well, you know, his right-hand man was a Viking, and he was fighting the Saxons all the time. It was, and historically, it was actually pretty, you know, looked pretty good. The armour and the weapons of the period was really good. So look that up online if you can. Arthur of the Britons, 1970s. Kind of a kids thing, but it's fairly dark. It was, you know, it's pretty good. Okay, so just move this slightly and remove the camera. So let's just have a final close-up and a flyby of these different Romano-British. So my leaders, my command stands, before it's using for Hail Caesar. And then some of the chieftains' war bands at the back there. Okay. That guy on the right, I just love that pose. Okay. They actually look like they're ready to fight. Okay. Okay. A little look at my Vikings. All that chainmail. There's a lead belcher and Adrax Earthshade. Okay, and last look at my Ranging Guard. Okay guys, so thanks for watching. I'll update you on what I'm working on next. I did say I was starting to do some work on my Bavarians. I'm probably going to try to finish my early Saxons so they can oppose the Romano-British. And at the minute I'm reading through the supplement for Wars of the Roses from Warlord as well, so hopefully at some point I'll get to use that, because I've started reading that and it's really good, so I'm quite enjoying it. A lot of it we know already, but it's nice to have something else to get into and read. Okay, thanks for watching everybody. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Trying to push through a little bit more with the subscriptions and that this year, and I hope you enjoy what I'm talking about, and I hope this has given you a little bit of insight hopefully into that period, and have a really good new year, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.